Today is Monday, March the 11th, 2024, and I want to do a two-part video on programming and cycles, especially as it relates to fasting and vegetarianism and the reason for those. But first, let me show you a clip from the interview with James Small that I think helps validate all of the content I've created about the indoctrination process, especially Groundhog's Day, as well as the environmental cycles and how they work to support programming.
All of the fundamental principles of Africa was in play. I didn't know it then. When everybody in my community, all the young men and women in the village was 13, we were rounded up and taken into the church. And there was a big meeting. And we had to choose a church father, the men. That's like choosing the African uncle in Africa. And the girls had to choose a church mother. And then for a year, they tutored and trained us. And at the end of the year, we were initiated. Because they didn't call it initiation. They called it going to the morning bench, where we got on our knees for a period of a week. And they would bring in a preacher from out of town, not your preacher, who could throw down. I mean, straight up had people singing and shouting and jumping over the benches. And during that period, you had to get possessed in order to rise up. And once you got possessed, you know, and while you're on the bench, your family is singing over you, your special song. So each person on that bench family had a song just for them, but it was the rhythm, you know, that went with the song. And I got up like on the third day. And you can't get up and fake it, because there are people that are testing you to make sure you're really possessed, right? And you're dancing and you're singing, and you know, and once you get possessed, you get to sit away from the others until everybody goes in turn, rises up. If you don't rise up, then you have to wait another year. But you lose your place in your age group, and you have to then be in another age group. And no one wanted that. There's such a process that went on throughout West Africa, you know. And when I became an initiated as a priest in the Yoruba tradition, I went through the same process as we did on the morning bench, but we weren't on the morning bench. You were blindfolded, and you were in the forest, and you were in a hut laying on the ground for a week. And you were fasting, and they're drumming and singing and dancing some days. And you have to get possessed, you know, and you have to have out-of-body experiences where you go on what the Native Americans call dream quest. But you don't know this until you come up out of all of that, and you have to tell the elder priests around you what you saw, who you talked to, what you spoke about. And then at the end of the 7-day process, when the blindfold came off, and you were taken to the water and bathed in the sea, and put on your white clothing, and after you'd been washed down thoroughly, because you were not bathing or nothing for 7 days in that sun, you know you need a serious washing down, right? And so I said, wow, all those things we were doing on Acadia, these were the African things. And these people behave as an African village. We call everybody ka, or cousin, even though they weren't our blood relatives. We operated like this one big, huge family, and still do, even though we've all left there now. And so that's why I reference an African village, because when I go to Africa, I see the same behavior, the same actions, the same attitudes that I experienced as a child on Acadia.
Now I'd like to show you some old research that I did in the form of photographs, which I will attach at the end, but of course I'm always trying to keep the time down. And before I talk about this, let me just ask that you please research the effect of protein on brain development and on brain functioning. And then when you watch the second part of this video, you'll be able to piece things together without me having to explain everything. All right, the first thing I wanted to show you is this statement here. I want to talk about how the environmental conditions are cycled, and the cycle of exposure helps with the programming, which uses everything else, the